Self-discipline is like a muscle. The more you practice and use it, the easier it becomes. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another video from Fitness Nation. So in the last video we talked about how inconsistency can damage your progress and make you incapable of achieving your desired situation. We also said that inconsistency can be an underlying symptom of a much bigger problem, like lack of discipline. So in today's video we're going to talk about the importance of discipline and how you can create that habit. People often think that discipline is a talent that can only be used by the elite performers in the world. And that can be further away from the truth. Discipline is a habit that can be developed by anybody. I consider myself a very disciplined person now, but I wasn't always like this. Today I can easily create an action plan and follow it step by step, no matter the difficulty or the mental noise of whether I want to do it or not. But there used to be a time where there was nothing that would get me to do what I had to do. In fact, I was a pro at procrastination, making excuses and being a victim. Until I experienced a life-defining moment a few years ago. It completely changed my way of thinking. And while I really wanted to become more disciplined, I just didn't know how. So I tried a bunch of stuff and kept doing whatever worked and dismissed everything that didn't work. Then once I got decent at it, I started studying people who had extreme levels of discipline. I would look at their routines, their behavior, how they think. And then I would try to implement those characteristics into my life. This is when I made the most profound change in terms of becoming self-disciplined and being in control over my mind and body. A person I really look up to is David Goggins. And if you don't know who Goggins is, you should definitely check him out because it will blow your mind. This guy is the definition of discipline and commitment. He's an African American guy who grew up in an abusive neighborhood just 20 minutes away from where the KKK headquarters were at the time. So as you can imagine, he was abused and insulted at school every day. He didn't have any friends and lived as an insecure, scared kid. He grew up with no self-esteem and considered himself the weakest person God ever created. And those were his actual words. He got into the Air Force to try to escape his reality, but he was overweight and unathletic. When he got out of the Air Force, his job was to spray for cockroaches and weighed 297 pounds. One day he was watching TV and saw this show on Discovery Channel about some Navy SEALs going through Hell Week. If you are not aware of what Hell Week is, it is basically a process to weed out the weak. In this 5.5-day stretch, each candidate sleeps for a total of 4 hours but runs more than 200 miles and does physical training for more than 20 hours per day. The physical activities are so intense that on average more than half of the people quit and never finish the training. A retired Navy SEAL was telling a story about how he and 6 other people had to carry a log and do lunges with it until someone decided to quit. He said that the pain was excruciating and everyone wished somebody would quit as soon as possible. But of course nobody wanted to be the first one to quit, so they just kept doing lunges for 2 hours until someone finally decided to quit. So when Goggins saw the Navy SEALs training on TV, it brought him back memories from pararescue training. That was when he decided he wanted to become a Navy SEAL. But the problem was that he had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months in order to qualify. The only way to lose all that weight was to train all day long for 3 months. And before he knew it, he lost all the weight and qualified for the Navy SEAL training. The problem was that swimming and running all day at 297 pounds put so much stress in his body that he started to get injured. And it became worse once he got in, because he says his body was broken before even starting Navy SEAL training. He finally got to Hell Week and got stress fractures and double pneumonia from the challenging physical activities from training. And because of this, he got rolled back to day 1, week 1, and had to do all the training again. The second time he fractured his patella before getting into Hell Week. He managed to go through Hell Week with a fractured patella, but 2 weeks after Hell Week he got rolled back to day 1, week 1 again. Because he just couldn't keep up with the class. He went through Hell Week a third time and finally graduated with class 235 to become a Navy SEAL. He said that the only way to accomplish all that was because he built calluses in his brain, the same way you will build calluses on your hands. Through suffering and pain, he was able to become mentally tougher and go through the difficulties that were in front of him. He also broke the Guinness World Record for pull-ups in 2013, doing a total of 4,030 pull-ups in 24 hours. He said that to break this record, he had to do about 67,000 pull-ups to train. So as you can start to see, this guy is one of the most disciplined individuals on the face of the earth. And the best part is that he started just like you or me. The only difference is that he focused on creating the habit of being more disciplined. There was another time when he wanted to raise money for the families of Navy SEALs that passed away during service. So he found a foundation that would raise the money. and then he searched for something that he could do that was very difficult. He found an ultra marathon race, but had no experience with it. He hadn't even run a marathon before. Now, since this race was a 135-mile race through Death Valley in the summertime, the participants had to qualify in order to run. The only way someone would qualify was to run 100 miles in 24 hours or less. At this point, Goggins hadn't run in a year because he was focused on powerlifting. He weighed about 250 pounds and had to run 100 miles in less than 24 hours. He accepted and signed up for the San Diego one-day race just 4 days after he found out that he had to qualify for the race. He got to mile 70 after 12 or 13 hours of running, but at that point his feet were broken. He had stress fractures and shin splints. He was in very bad shape. So he sat down at mile 70, looked at his wife and said, "I am messed up bad and still have 30 miles to go." He even had to go to the bathroom that was 20 feet away from him, but just couldn't get out of his chair. He started peeing blood down his leg and was all dizzy because his blood pressure was messed up. He describes it as the worst pain of his life, worse than 3 hell weeks. Then he started thinking about all the kids that abused him. His stepdad, his violent childhood. The race became a personal thing, so he got up and started walking until mile 81. At mile 81, his wife said that if he kept walking, he was not going to make the time. And so he ran the last 19 miles non-stop. The pain of the stress fractures was so great that he had to get compression tape to tape up his ankles and feet. He learned in the Navy that taping up your ankles and feet when you have stress fractures is excruciatingly painful for the first hour. But then your feet go numb and are able to keep running or doing physical activities. Needless to say, he qualified for the race and ran the ultra marathon. Now you might hear these stories and say, wow, that guy has some special kind of talent. But even he says that he was just a scary kid who found drive and passion to be something much better than what he thought he was. People often see someone who has done great things and they just assume that they are different than them. It isn't until they hear about their idols' insecurities that they understand that they are just like them. You can also create the habit of becoming more disciplined to achieve your goals. Self-discipline is like a muscle. The more you practice and use it, the easier it becomes. And the most common misconception is that you either have monk-like discipline or none at all. But this is not true. In fact, the best way to develop discipline is to write down the goal you want to achieve and then make a plan of how you will do it. The more detailed you are and the more you break down the steps, the better. If you currently don't have the discipline to stick to your plan just like you have written down, you need to start with the easiest action and then gradually increase the level of difficulty. For example, let's just say that your goal is to wake up earlier and go to the gym, but you don't have the discipline to do that on a consistent basis. So the way that you start is to first develop the habit of waking up earlier. You can set your alarm at the same time you would wake up if you went to the gym. But instead of forcing yourself to go, you wake up and do some other activity that you enjoy. Once you're used to waking up earlier, you can take a step forward and drive to the gym. The point is not to get to the gym to work out. The point of this is to develop the discipline to follow a series of actions without being emotionally attached. So you can even drive to the gym and then leave without stepping out of your car. As you become more comfortable and engrave the previous step into your brain, you can take it one step further and run 1 mile. Then you can do 2 miles, then 3. And you can keep adding things to it until you finally reach the point that you wrote down in your plan. This is one of the things I did to become more disciplined. And it works really well. You should definitely try it and see how well it works for you. If you want to learn more about how you can change your habits, create more discipline, and finally be able to obtain that goal that has been impossible to get, our private coaching group might be right for you. In here we will give you all the instruments you need along your journey, and that will hopefully change your life for the better. We cover the fundamentals like mindset. We cover how to identify your obstacles and how you can deal with them. We cover how to hack your mind and have Goggins-like discipline. And we cover how to attack your goal and the way you need to experiment so that you can get maximum results. You can sign up for the coaching group using the link that I will leave in the description below this video. But that's it for this video. Hope you liked it and I will see you in the next one.